days Senator Arlen Specter has been a Democrat, nearly 8. Number of those days Senator Specter has said or done something against the party line, about 8. In our third story in the countdown, with the honeymoon that barely began over, both Senator Specter and the Senate Majority Leader, Harry Reid, may be straining to restart the relationship. Under a Senate resolution passed last night and shepherded by Senator Reid, Mr. Specter was stripped of his seniority on every committee on which he sits, like Appropriations, Veterans Affairs, and Judiciary. He is now the most junior Democratic senator, and he will, for example, be the last Democrat to question President Obama's Supreme Court nominee, rather than the first Republican to do so. But Senator Reid's promise about Mr. Specter's future seniority appears to be intact. And today, Reid said, quote, "I hope he's going to be with us when we need him. I'm comfortable that's the case." But Specter himself acknowledged some pushback from the Democratic rank and file in a statement today, which reads in part, quote, "Some members of the caucus have raised concerns about my seniority. So the caucus will vote on my seniority at the same time subcommittee chairmanships are confirmed after the 2010 election." Assuming, of course, Senator Specter can win a Democratic primary. Thus, one correction was put on the books today. You will recall that regarding the Minnesota Senate battle, Specter had said, quote, "There's still time for the Minnesota courts to do justice and declare Norm Coleman the winner." This was within the last week. But today, Specter told Congressional Quarterly, quote, "In the swirl of moving from one caucus to another, I have to get used to my new teammates. I'm ordinarily pretty correct in what I say. I've made a career of being precise. I conclusively misspoke." Let's call in former White House press secretary under President Bill Clinton, also president of the consulting firm Glover Park Group, Joe Lockhart. Good to talk to you, Joe.
Good to talk to you, Keith.
Well, is the headline here Specter is no Democrat, or that this sort of full apology kind of thing on Franken and Coleman suggests he's trying?
I guess the headline is, if he doesn't get his act together politically, he may not be a senator much longer. I appreciate his candor in his announcement, but it was somewhat startling when he was asked why he decided to switch, and he said he got a poll back, and he said he couldn't win as a Republican, so I'll run as a Democrat. Good politicians understand that you have to make it about the people you're serving, not about your interests. And if he gets it back to the people of Pennsylvania, he's an able politician. It's just been a bad week for him.
And in that week plus, he has also voted against the president's budget. He said he would oppose the health care bill if it includes a government-run insurance plan. He's refused to change his position on the Employee Free Choice Act. He chafed at reports that he had told the president he'd be a loyal Democrat. So is this really qualifying as getting used to his new teammates, to use his phrase, or is he just still sticking his finger in the party's collective eye?
Well, I think he's sticking his finger in his own eye right now, not in the party's eye. The Democrats are doing fine. You know, if he 59-60, I'm not sure that that's really an issue right now. I think if he wants to go to Pennsylvania, no matter what he calls himself, and says he's not for reforming health care, he's not for the president's budget, he's not for turning this economy around in the way that the president's articulated, he's going to find that Pennsylvania wants a different senator, not Senator Specter.
There continues to be the suggestion, just as Senator Reid said today, that Specter will stand with the Democrats on at least some key issues, no matter what he looks like in terms of his bid for re-election. Do you think he will, and on which of those key issues will he in fact join them then? Would it be the Supreme Court nominee, or torture investigations, or health care, or energy reform, or something else?
Well, listen, I don't know. Maybe the Supreme Court will probably be a big issue. I think Senator Specter has a lot of standing on that, given his own personal history. But I think it's simpler than just saying, you know, will he prove he's a loyal Democrat? The country has moved. If you look at Pennsylvania in the last election, I think it's 500,000 to 1 million new voters came in, all Democrats, Republicans lost. The country has shifted. They want leadership like the kind that President Obama has talked about. They want this change. They don't want more of the same. They don't want politicians that seem to care more about themselves and their own political future than their constituents. So I think, you know, it's not so much whether he stands with this Democrat or that Democrat. It's whether he's for this kind of change that the president's trying to get done.
And speaking of the self-interested politician, what are the odds, do you suppose, that he winds up as another Joe Lieberman? And if they're measurable, is it not in the Democrats' interest, both nationally and locally, to really press hard to get somebody else nominated by the party in Pennsylvania next year?
Listen, I think this is very early. I think if Senator Specter, as a Democrat, comes out and is a strong champion for health care reform, a champion for climate change legislation, cap and trade that the president's talked about, if he's there for him, on the budget, I think those are the issues that people care about, and Pennsylvanians will welcome that. If he doesn't, if he represents what the Republicans have been talking about, the kind of Rush Limbauhism that you talked about at the top of this show, I don't think it matters whether they say he's a Democrat or Republican. People are a lot smarter than I think the pollsters give them credit for. That they will reject him based on what he runs as and what he does in the next year. So there's a lot of time. And if he runs as a Republican with a D in front of it, I expect he'll get stiff opposition, and it'll be very difficult for him to win in Pennsylvania.
Joe Lockhart, the former White House press secretary. Thanks for your time tonight, Joe.
Thanks, Keith.